walked in. There's Jake.
Oops, hi. My name is Jake. I'm a former Jehovah's Witness current guy who thought he was already loaded into the live stream person. I'm wearing my backup glasses today because you know what? It's a backup glasses vibe. It's a pajamas vibe. It's a you had a gummy vibe. And I'm not going to say what kind of gummy it was. Maybe it was a gummy bear. For all anybody knows legally, even though it's not some illegal gummy, that's really not important, the gummy part of this, although maybe it is. This really started, the occasion for today is really just that I need to I need to actually organize my desktop. I need to do it. It needs to happen. But I just never do. And I'm a generally disorganized person. You will not be surprised to learn. And so I thought, if I just kind of do a stream and do that in the background, that'll kind of incentivize me to do it. But then I thought that might actually be too boring to justify even doing that, or that maybe I should start out doing something else, or we can check in with, I don't know, each other. Ever heard of that? Ever heard of just checking in with each other? And then I thought, what we might be able to do is I could do like a kind of director's commentary. And what a director I am of YouTube videos, by the way. Mr. Bo, please stop. Please stop doing what you're doing. Come here. Come hither. Here. Hi, buddy. Hello. I'll get you closer. Here. Say hi. Hi, Bo. Say hi so we can play the sound drop. Yay! Oh, there's my boy. There's my boy. We love him so much, but I think we might love the sound drop even more.
Our spiritual paradise is a place that has many harmless animals.
Now, what do we mean by this?
Here's the thing with that sound drop is I think it's absolutely terrible. I think it's horrible. I don't think it's funny or clever or anything. And the music is annoying. But that, I don't know. It brings me joy. The fact that it really does, none of it works, but I insist on doing it anyway. Maybe that is something. Hey. Oh, he's being lovey. He's being a lovey boy. Bo is very lovey. And that's kind of the thing with him, is he's either really obsessively, cutely, clingy, cutely. He's either a clingy, cutie boy, or you're not giving him enough attention because he is clingy. And so when you don't give him enough attention, what he does is he goes insane and starts ruining everything. You might see, actually, back here, some scraps of, or maybe like a remaining nail or a scrap of paper. A couple years ago, I had a poster hanging up there, and Bo would always knock it down. And 2 weeks ago, I decided I'm gonna hang up this Comedy Bang Bang poster I got from the tour, and I'm just gonna hang it up. And he tore it down and tore up the poster, totally ruined. And so it's just okay, back to that being a blank wall. Maybe I'll paint it green and awkwardly do green screen shenanigans there. Oh yes, he's such a acrobat. Such an acrobat. Okay, but here's the thing. I'm actually really, really proud of my new video. I really like how it turned out. And so maybe, no, have I justified doing what, I don't know, Philosophy Tube does after she releases her videos and does a watch along? No, probably haven't really earned that, but that doesn't mean that we can't just in spirit kind of try and do the same thing. So I do want to do that just because I don't know, good video, and I can pause and react and sniff my own farts. No, I don't know. Every time here's the thing, like I've recorded several patron videos that I haven't released because whenever I have to listen back to this stuff, it sounds so pretentious. But my secret shame, and what is this channel if not an opportunity to reveal secret shames, is that I really do like talking about these YouTube videos and stuff. I like it when people care about it. It makes me feel needed. I think it's because of trauma, but it's fine. Everything's fine. Well, first off, yes, like my cat biting my pants because I'm cooking dinner and not sitting with her. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. So if anybody isn't subscribed to Small Worldly, I'm going to be doing more streaming there probably. I actually wanted, instead of just ranting into my iPhone randomly when I'm home by myself, I thought maybe I'll actually try and put some effort into political streams if I'm actually going to insist upon doing them. So I'm trying to think of like games to do. Segments to do, like things to make it fun or something. So it's not just another person ranting about politics. I mean, it is that, but it also won't just be that. It'll be that and maybe some games. Uh-oh. Whenever you open the line, I want to talk about Lost for a minute. Am I still visible and audible to people, by the way? Because I got a notification that something unplugged from my USB. But, okay. I don't know what kind of fake news my computer is spreading. I was not planning on opening up the Lions, TBH. That's going to be tomorrow. And we're going to... Heliocentric's going to be on it. Yeah, Heliocentric's going to be the guest. Got guests lined up in the future, and I think he'd be okay with me saying this. I thought the one with RC was just so great. It was really, really fun and fulfilling. Like, we just had a blast listening to people's stories. It felt really just like validating for everybody involved. It sounds like cheesy to say, but I don't know. Like, we need a little bit of cheesy feel-goodery these days. And we both really liked it. And so I think he at least once a month is going to co-host with me, and we'll rotate in other people. Like the one with Jenny went so great. And obviously Eric, who's the one I did it with first. And I've got other people who want to co-host with me. And it's fun because really it's just kind of like sitting and listening to people tell their cool stories or whatever. Okay, so soccer / football. I know nothing about soccer and football. I really, really like watching sports, but something in my brain, I cannot retain anything about it. Like I can't, is that better or is that worse? I feel like that looks a little cozier than the kind of cold clinical dentist office vibe we had going on before, but maybe it's a little too much. But yeah, my brain, I can never retain anything about sports for whatever reason. Like I can never remember players' names and teams and stats and stuff. I think because a lot of it does involve math, and I have that thing where just anything involving math and numbers, my brain shuts down. And but I really love watching them, and like I'm not an athletic guy, but I like passing around the old pig skin with friends. No, it's been years since I've tossed around any kind of pig skin. But no, like I'm not an athlete, but I do like sports, and like I'm really, really bad at sports video games, but I do like playing them. My problem is that I'm competitive, and so when I suck at something, I just get really mad at myself. And so I just don't play sports really out of self-preservation because I don't have the patience to get good at them, but I also hate that I suck. So it's just kind of not fun for anybody. So I just am content to be good at Super Smash Brothers and Mario Kart and probably just it's only going to be those two things for the rest of my life in terms of competitive skills, and that's probably fine. But I really was into FIFA 2002 specifically, and this game is real that I describe in this video, and I wanted to also try and lean into what I think is good about the channel this year. Like, I think I have figured out what I'm good at and not good at, and what makes the channel different. And I want to lean into writing the scripts more like I used to. I got really used to just rambling and editing it down to the point where it sounded like it was somewhat planned. But I liked writing out the actual script to this. And I liked how stupid this was. I've also just been feeling more nostalgic since I went to my grandfather's funeral. I've been thinking more about these childhood memories and like trying to find a way to incorporate positive memories of my childhood that kind of don't have anything to do with being a Jehovah's Witness into my videos and like reflecting upon them fondly without doing that thing where you're like, but now they shun me. Like, no, that's okay. I don't really talk to plenty of people I don't talk to.
When I was 10 years old, my friend Travis and I were very into a video game called FIFA 2002 for the Nintendo GameCube. It had a lot of detailed character reactions, which is a big upgrade from the previous entries that I had played. Now, if you messed up on the pitch, especially if you did something really egregious like getting a red flag or an own goal, you could see your teammates get super mad at you. But it was goofy looking Polygon men, so their anger looked really funny.
Disaster!
Yeah, we really did play this game, me and Travis, and then I roped other friends into doing it too. Like, me and my friends always had a really similar sense of humor, and I mean, like, the way that I edit my videos and stuff is definitely just because it's the kind of editing that made me and my friends laugh when we were, growing up with the 2000s internet and stuff, and, why the fuck was I saying that? I don't know. But yeah, we all had a pretty similar sense of humor and tended to find the same things funny. And we really liked fucking with video games and creating chaos. We just always thought that was really funny. Maybe because our lives were so controlled that just any kind of chaos and having an amount of control in your life was funny. But we really, really loved Super Smash Bros. Brawl for this reason, because you could make your own stage and you could just make essentially torture devices for the characters and make these things that are completely absurd. And so we always liked when we would get to a point in a game where it wasn't enough, you kind of like develop your own meta game with friends, like how you develop house rules for Monopoly. And we had that for a lot of video games. I can't think of any other specifics right off the top of my head right now, but we definitely had a lot of house rules like that, or just we play FIFA 2002. Yes, we have the newer one, but this one, we play this one for this reason.
And I thought it was the most hilarious thing to see our team, and thus an entire stadium full of people, get super mad at things we did because we were 10. So we invented this new game, which was basically soccer, but we each actively tried to score as many own goals as possible. So it's soccer, but every time someone scores, it's total confusion and anger in the stadium, and the winner has the least amount of points by the end.
Oh, it's an own goal! What an expensive mistake.
Oh, tragedy!
Oh, this was all.
I was really happy that I didn't have to figure out how to record myself playing this video game because, first of all, I actually still have this copy of FIFA 2002 because the thing is, with owning a sports video game, there's absolutely no point in trading it into GameStop because it's like the exact second the next game comes out, the trade-in value is like 29 cents. So I had this and the World Cup one from, I think it was later in 2002 or whatever. Don't worry about me. But yeah, I would hang on to those. But I looked at it because I've had the GameCube set up to fuck around with some GameCube games. But it was too scratched, actually. The FIFA game didn't work. And then I realized I didn't actually know how to record it. But I found this channel that because the internet is sometimes wonderful, somebody else apparently also is delighted by this and got an own goal in every single FIFA video game all the way up until like 2021. It's like a couple years old at this point. I linked it in the description if you, like me, like watching that kind of thing. I mean, it's like a 45-minute video of just FIFA own goals that I watched.
Almost comical.
And anyway, I think
It's
that
almost
game
comical.
must have caught on within Jehovah's Witnesses and made its
All that
way
commentary is
up to the
burned in my
governing body,
brain.
because these days it really feels like they're trying to score as many own goals in a row as possible on purpose.
What about our building projects? Ramapo? Why do we need Ramapo? Armageddon's coming.
Disaster.
Latest example.
I've talked about before on the channel that I really wanted to write for like video game publications and stuff. I wrote for Nintendo Life for a while, and then some other kind of independent blogs reviewing games, and I wanted to work at IGN or Game Informer. And so I was friends with some of these people in this space, and I asked a guy I really liked for feedback one time, and his feedback was, I know that like your introductions are very clever, but like people don't actually want to read that. He's like, you should get over that tendency and just cut right to the start of the thing. And so I was reminded of that when I wrote this introduction, because my instinct to everything I write is to write a long, completely unnecessary anecdote that tangentially relates to it, because I just find that funny. I don't know. I think it reminds me of like Lemony Snicket books when he would do that, and like Douglas Adams, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy books do that a lot.
Example of own goalery is David Splane, one of the governing body members, gave this talk that was aired as part of the March 2025 edition of JW Broadcasting.
Welcome to JW Cast Broadcasting.
David's sermon is on a pretty dramatic and important topic. Is it possible for you, a puny human, to impede the divine outworkings of a cosmic timeless being known as Jehovah God?
While we always aim to support Jehovah's will, could we impede it?
You might think, obviously not. He's God, and you would be right.
In the following morning worship, hear Brother Splane comment on how this could happen.
When Jehovah says he's going to do something, it's as good as done. And nothing and no one can stand in the way. But sometimes...
But also you would be wrong. It's a classic yesant.
By the way, yesant is a weird thing I picked up on from the Mario Maker troll community. Very specific niche video game interest of mine. I've had a script for a video about Mario Maker troll levels in the chamber for a long time. I filmed it and recorded it and stuff when I had that surgery years ago, and then never got around to finishing it. And if you've watched videos from around that time, I look like a skeleton. It's actually like unpleasant to look at. So then I just never went back to it. But there, for some reason, it became a joke in that community, because you would put clues in your levels, you know, like troll levels, or you kind of try and trick the player into dying in funny ways. But you got to give them little hints. In Mario Maker, sometimes they make a big maze level or a puzzle, so you'll like write out yes in blocks. And so people started doing this thing where like they would trick the player by saying like yes, so the player would go there and then boom, they die, and then the camera scrolls and it said yesn't. And I thought that was really funny. Shit, skeleton. Did this affect
Replay see if you can work
kind of? It's weird. Like in DaVinci Resolve, using this digital glitch effect makes the computer light on fire. Like I can't preview it at all. So I just had to render it and hoped it looked okay. And for this channel, what we aim for is good enough. And that is what we achieved here.
It's as good as done. And nothing and no one can stand in the way. But sometimes, with the best of intentions, we could actually get in the way of a decision or a project that Jehovah approves of.
Oh, right. Okay.
Oh, it's an own goal.
First of all, I'm a little proud of myself for this little running own goal joke. It's actually the reason why I made the video. Not the first time I've made a video, because I thought of a pun that I wanted to do or something. Sorry. Just sorry for everything I just said. But I wanted to get into this more, but it's really not important or necessary. But it's still in my brain, so I gotta get it out, apparently. Like, what David Splane did is something that I talked about in other videos, where they change the question that they're answering. I don't know if there's a word for that. Sound off in chat if there's like a word, if that's a logical fallacy or something. But that's really the basis of their JW frequently asked questions article, and it's what made me make that website, JWFAQ, which I'm hoping to revamp, by the way. I renewed the URL and everything, or domain, whatever it is, and finally got .com back, so now that works. But it actually does well in the algorithm. My little gambit paid off, where I just used I used the exact same wording for all the questions as jw.org. And so it lists it pretty high in the Google search results. So it actually, there's no ads on it or anything. So I never think to look at the stats, but when I went in to renew the domain and everything, it gets like several hundred views a week, which is pretty crazy to me. That's way more than I ever thought it would get. And so that makes me happy that thing is kind of still there. But the reason why I made that website is because in almost every single one of their frequently asked questions articles, the question that they ask is not answered in the paragraph. Like, they will ask, Jehovah's Witnesses, are Jehovah's Witnesses a cult? And they say, no, Jehovah's Witnesses are not a cult. Rather, we are, and the thing that they define actually doesn't have anything to do with whether they're a cult. And then they start saying, and then we don't even really know what a cult is. But some people define a cult this way. And if we use that definition, here's why we're not that. And that's what the bait and switch. Yeah, that's pretty good. This whole Jehovah will stop it if he doesn't approve. Then they list everything that went wrong with the project is crazy work from them. Why right near this? I know. It was, okay, I feel a little bad. Oh, we'll get to it later. But when we get to that part, there's one part of editing where I'm like, if a Jehovah's Witness wanted to be pedantic, they could say that I took it out of context. And it's true, I did, but not, I think it's pretty clear that whole montage, the only reason why they would put that on the website is because they have a before and after story. And the after is they prayed about it and Jehovah answered their prayers and the project is ongoing. But it's really funny to just air the first part where they just talk about all the things going wrong with the project. Because when you just isolate that stuff, it's like, what? This doesn't sound miraculous at all. All these crazy problems keep arising on all these projects every time. None of it really seems miraculous anyway. But I was going to get into, and I scripted it and then just didn't end up using it, the fact that he does that bait and switch thing, where if you want to get nitpicky with it, as we do on this channel, David Splane sets up, is it possible to stand in the way of Jehovah's will? No, but we could stand in the way of a decision that he has blessed. Like he implies... He's giving himself some rhetorical wiggle room so that he's not technically contradicting himself, because he is technically setting up a new idea, which is that you can stand in the way of a decision that Jehovah blessed, and in an abstract way, this decision advances his will, and in that way, you could impede his will, but not really. And because that was annoying for you to just listen to, that's why I didn't put it in the video.
First own goal, just an immediate contradiction from David Splane. Nothing can stand in God's way, except you, and here's how.
Now, we have an example of this in an event that happened in the lives of Esau and Jacob. Now, who was getting in the way in that story? The faithful man, Isaac.
Did it come through that his eyes were being really shifty? This is something I picked up on with him. Or is it him? No, actually, I did this in the Joe Rogan YouTube poop thing I did. I didn't really know. I don't know what you'd call that video, but there's like Peter Thiel. I was really obsessed with that interview because Peter Thiel is like sweating like he just stepped out of a sauna. He's just drenched from the start, and he is shifty-eyed. He is on some kind of drug, whatever weird stimulant all these rich people use. He was on it, and he's like totally incoherent, cannot complete a sentence. It takes so long between answers, and he's constantly shifting his eyes, and it's crazy. And so for some reason after that, I found it really funny to really zoom in on people when they have shifty eyes. And Splane does it a lot. What's he nervous about? What's he worried about off stage?
Isaac and Rebekah finally had two sons, Esau and Jacob. And we know that Esau was the firstborn.
Never stop, never stopping.
Pointed out this week, in patriarchal times, at the death of the father, why the firstborn took the lead in the family. He was the one who conducted family worship.
No.
Oh my God. Okay, I'm going to set this aside. Let's do a little pop culture chit chat. By the way, the desktop not being organized, my files are going to stay in totally disparate folders, and I have to like search for if I can remember the file name, and then I can't, so I just re-download it, and I realize that I have 8 of the same file. It doesn't matter. Jacob, Esau, quit kicking that sheep and get your papyrus. We're having family worship night. Yes, when I watched this talk, I was just like constantly laughing out loud, as the kids say. I was lolling. Literally, I was. I guffawed a couple times. I scoffed. One thing that I just want to get across in these videos, but maybe I haven't explicitly said, is just that because these people are just brainwashed cult leaders who are narcissists, you know, whatever you think of the governing body, whether you think that they know it's not the truth, or like they somehow think it is, and I fall on the side that they somehow think it is, whatever mentality they have, the fact that they're doing what they're doing is really fucked up. If they're pretending, it's fucked up. If they're not pretending, it's fucked up. So these are really unwell people, and a consistent theme with really unwell people, cult leaders, is they make really stupid, weird decisions that make them look dumb for no reason. I meant to talk about it. Here's something I've noticed in my editing of myself for the channel is sometimes I'll go, duh, when I'm trying to form a thought, because I have a stutter, and like, I'll go but I'll stop, and then I'll go like duh, so I just sound like I'm going a duh. But anyway, like that Kundalini yoga cult documentary we watched, one of the interesting things about it is she was this famous influencer cult leader. Like, she was really popular with a lot of bougie granola liberal types and, you know, fitness moms. Like, she had appeal with normies and had this cult thing. But yes, it's been totally ruined because she is a cult leader. She started to get found out. People started calling her out the way people do, the way we're doing right now, in a way. In really no way, actually, at this moment. But she starts having these public meltdowns. But she's a cult leader who has a social media team who have to do what the cult leader says. So they have her posting things that are totally demented that you should never post on your like professional $1 million company social media page, but they do it because they think they're right. Like if you look at the stuff that Trump tweets at 3 a.m, utterly insane. In the 2016 Trump era, there was this funny Twitter profile I followed that would any Trump tweet, it would print it on like White House presidential letterhead, just because putting it in a different context other than Twitter just kind of made it clear that this is just really deranged, weird sounding stuff that at the very least like doesn't sound professional. And something I really want to get across with all these cult leaders is like they're not geniuses who have a secret plan that we all need to be trying to figure out. Like their evil is way out in the open. We all know about it. And that's why activists like in Washington and Pennsylvania and Australia and all over the world, Norway, are getting things done to try and hold them to account, because we know what the abuses are. The thing that's worth pointing out is what makes it clear that they're not divine or spiritual or worth listening to, which is that they're really stupid. And so I don't know. I guess that was a long way of saying I think it's important to remember that these guys are really stupid.
No, Jacob and Esau did not conduct family worship.
Thank you for this
event modern Jehovah's Witnesses are instructed to hold in their homes or apartments or whatever. Here's how family worship works for Jehovah's Witnesses.
Pretty sure I get
a
a thing wrong here, by the way.
An hour to study what Watchtower says the Bible says. Maybe the family will watch a broadcast like the one we're watching, or go over an article that Watchtower produced that overlaps with a problem in the family. Every once in a while, you get fancy, do an arts and crafts project. Also, if you don't have a family, like if you're just a single Jehovah's Witness who lives on your own.
Yes, I found the factual error.
Just figure something out by yourself, or just hop in and do family worship with someone else from the congregation. So,
are these pictures not utterly bananas? To get on another high horse of mine, I have a stable full of the highest horses. And one of them is that it's just crazy that a prestige documentary hasn't been made about Jehovah's Witnesses in the United States. Like Netflix, HBO, Amazon Prime, Hulu, all that shit. This imagery is really crazy, is it not? Like, if I can step back from me understanding the context of all of this, if you just showed this to someone, wouldn't they be totally weirded out? If you just made that the thumbnail to a documentary and, put like a fancy kind of slightly moving logo on it. All right, confirmed.
So that is Jehovah's Witnesses on one hand. Esau, on the other hand, was a tribal hunter and priest 1,800 years ago with anyone.
No, that's very wrong. Okay, so I was trying to figure out, because I didn't realize it until after I uploaded it and was like, what the fuck? That can't be right. 1,800 years ago. So here's what I did, I think, is I Googled something like this. How long ago did Esau live? And I saw that he lived around 1836 BC. And was like, 1,800 years ago. I'm pretty sure that's what happened there. That is what's happening, as we say. And yeah, Scott Aukerman on Comedy Bang Bang had this bit for a while where he said that if you were 50, that meant that you were born in the 1950s. Yeah. If there were JW family vloggers, those pictures would be in the Netflix documentary. Yes. It is that kind of picture. Are there JW family vloggers that we just don't know about? Surely, like, the Gossip Mill. Sometimes I worry about that. I worry that we're missing a big scoop about an influencer out there. Thank you for forgiving me. Just understand that anytime a number is said on this channel, it doesn't matter if that number is my age or the number of fingers on my hand. Just double check it. because it's probably wrong.
Anywhere from 3 to 6 wives, depending on which Bible scholar you ask.
I'm amazed I got that
Dynamics
number
were
right.
fairly different in the Bronze Age, so even if the Bible did describe Esau engaging in a weekly worship powwow with his family,
actually.
which it does not, the Bible did not exist back then, nor did the written language. The worship Jacob and Esau's family did to Jehovah involved sacrificing animals.
I remember hearing about this, I think, that there was a comedian, Jehovah's Witness, or like a kind of funny TikTok influencer. Is she black? Like, is she, I'm trying to remember this person I saw. Like, there are a few influencers, like Jehovah's Witness influencers, because Jehovah's Witnesses or a lot of them have social media, especially young people. And there are people that are like kind of niche influencer, I guess, in the way that like I'm a person that people know like in a very small niche of the XJW community, but obviously nowhere else would I be a person. Like there's people like that for Jehovah's Witnesses, but I didn't know if there was, it kind of doesn't sound possible. I don't know why. Like you almost assume that most of the family influencers that you see are Mormon, but it would be totally bananas to find out that any one of them was, there's that one makeup YouTuber who's also does comedy as JW. Interesting.
And occasionally going to war. So, no, in every possible way, no, David. Sure, Jacob and Esau had families.
It's really wild to think about the fact that animal sacrifices are just a thing in the Bible. That's really there from the very beginning. Like the first murder that ever happened was about sacrifice. It's like
worship trademark.
It's really fucking different. I don't know that I really said this clear enough in the video, but it's like they want to imply, and this is really crazy to think about, they want to imply to Jehovah's Witnesses that the family worship arrangement, just the thing that they tell people to do, the church tells them to have a night every week where they do something Bible-y and Christian together. Nope, it's got to be that it's a divine arrangement that actually the patriarchs from the Bible did, despite no evidence.
If you worship Jehovah. And even though Jacob and Esau's worship of Jehovah was different in every conceivable way, up to and including the existence of the Bible.
Well, that's X. That's an X.
No, it's okay that David Splane said this very clearly untrue thing.
Between Esau and Jacob, who was most likely to conduct family worship with his children, his offspring?
Got myself with my own editing there.
This is a trick. The governing bodies strategically drop in their own modern Jehovah's Witness terminology into descriptions of Bible events to lend the impression that Jehovah's Witnesses were part of this lineage of true worship. Splane does this again a few sentences later. He says that Rebecca loved who Jehovah loved, but Esau married out of the truth.
Well, Rebecca loved the one Jehovah loved most, Jacob. Isaac loved Esau, even after Esau had married out of the truth twice.
Jehovah's Witnesses call their religion the truth, and one of the rules in the truth, if you want to get married, is you got to marry someone else who is also in the truth, or in the Lord, they sometimes say. Basically, it just means when you're a witness, you have to marry someone else who is also a Jehovah's Witness.
This council.
So I don't know if this is really worth saying, but when does that ever stop me? One thing that I try to do with the videos is to make them broadly applicable to all high control groups. Like, even though this is technically a rebuttal of this one talk, like hopefully somebody who is Mormon, or somebody who is in Scientology, or, you know, even someone who's just like a really lost in the sauce Fox News Christian or something, like they can start to recognize the same kinds of rhetorical tactics. So that's a goal. Sometimes I wonder if I should underline that more, but my hope is that, like, you know how when you were a witness, you would have never sought out anything that was critical of Jehovah's Witnesses, but like you would have found it probably okay to watch something about the Mormons. Like, I hope that this channel can be that for other religions, weirdly. So like, even though it's an ex-Jehovah's Witness channel, that's weirdly what I hope is going on in my head. But then I feel like I don't accomplish that sometimes because I get so in the weeds with the specifics of like a word that Jehovah's Witnesses use a lot. It's a balance. It's a balance.
And the faithful and discreet slave has been very clear as to what marrying only in the Lord means. A dedicated, baptized fellow.
I always related to that.
Esau
Bible,
married
Jacob.
women of a warring tribe.
I was very
guess,
similar.
And Watchtower wants witnesses to think of everyone on the outside world as a warring tribe. Satan's tribe. So Splane just casually slides in the witness term, married out of the truth, even though it's not a phrase that the Genesis account uses in this story. So Splane is sneaking in a little warning about how Jehovah's Witnesses aren't supposed to marry outside of the religion. But that's
okay. Yes, I paused it perfectly. By the way, yes, it is lazy to loop funny facial expressions, but not just any facial expression is funny. So there's a certain intentionality happening there. I would never do lazy content ever. I've just accepted that I'm not good at like filming videos. They always look like shit. Every time I try and film something, it looks terrible. And I just don't care about that part of it. I care about the, I don't know, like the pace and the funny stuff mostly. So I've kind of just accepted like whether I'm in front of a camera or not, I'm just gonna focus on that. But I think yes, like part of what I'm getting to with the like Tony Soprano comparison later is like Tony really sees the whole thing, like his whole mob family. Like he really believes in that family blood brotherhood thing, but he also doesn't and can't to justify his actions. Like his actions require him to constantly be lying to certain people, giving some people information and not others, and being willing to let anybody go at any time. And that is what a cult leader has to be able to do. What if David Splane's best friend was Anthony Morris? Seems like probably not. I'm trying to think of who Morris would have gotten along with most on the governing body. Probably Sam Hurd, because they're both kind of like laid back guys, with a couple beers in them, I would think. Or scotch, perhaps.
Can I be annoying and just close this a little bit?
Oh, yeah, go for it.
Sorry.
I think I'm being loud. Oh, no, you're fine. I just realized I am. I'm like shouting. I'm shouting at no one. Well, that's not true. I'm shouting at 61 people. But yeah, anyway, Tony Soprano comparison. Yeah, like he believes in that thing, but he also can't. And that's the cult leader thing too. And that's why I think it's a little more complex than they definitely know that they are lying to 8 million people. Like, I think it's a little more complicated than that. I think that they believe in some part of some of it, right? Even if it's just, I believe I'm being used by God. And I don't know, like, I don't know what that is, but I think in the same way that, like, Tony Soprano is able to justify going to heaven in the afterlife while being a mob boss, because he has justified it in his mind that, well, because I'm a soldier and soldiers don't die, they don't go to hell if they kill someone in war. Like, that's a totally crazy thing, but that's what Tony Soprano says about himself, and it doesn't make sense, but it for some reason makes sense to him. And I think all of these guys, all the individual governing body members, probably have a slightly different version of that, where if we could mine around in there while we're implanting a severance chip, we would find like that they each had a kind of complicated, subtly different reason for why they continue to do what they do and to what extent they really believe it. I don't know. I like to think about what kind of complex delusions have to happen in a person's mind to end up like this. And figures
that's
like
mostly
Elon
an aside.
Musk and stuff.
To build to his way grosser, cultier point.
Isaac loved Esau, even after Esau had married out of the truth twice. Well, some in full-time service have a brother or sister who isn't doing very well in the truth, and yet he or she is the favorite. Go figure. Even parents in the truth don't always love the one...
Oh, this is the worst. I don't even want to get into that, but okay. Wait, what? What's sexualized? I missed some kind of... Oh, Jamie French is a JW influencer? Ooh, wait, okay, let's set that aside. Let me just look that up in another tab so we can follow up with a new segment after this. I wanted to shout out this comment. This is really interesting. A narcissist is capable of creating a lie and to convince himself that it's true. So possibly they believe in their own BS. I think it's something like that. I feel like you can see this, and we've been able to see it in real time with certain politicians. Like, you can see how people have changed their stories over time or haven't. The Daily Show did a really devastating montage of well, it wasn't just Chuck Schumer, it was a lot of different Democrats since 2012 or 13 all the way to now, basically saying the same exact thing about rising right-wing extremism and Trumpism, that the fever's going to break and he's going to make some mistake and the fever's going to break. Like, they say the same thing year after year. And it reminded me of hearing that the end is just around the corner. But I really think that those people believe it. Like, I think that it really feels true, especially when you're in it. I think probably every time you are running for re-election, the stakes are all renewed again, and every fight kind of feels new. But you step back and you realize you've been saying the same thing for a decade, and you've been wrong the entire time. And now we're here. Like, that's kind of what I think happens with these guys, is just like all Jehovah's Witnesses, they had something in their minds, whether it was the end, like whether it was a 1975 teaching or something that got them in, but then you're in and you keep finding little reasons to stay in, and that's what your brain wants to do anyway. Janice on It's Always Sunny would make a great governing body. Are you talking about because of the implications? Elijah Joseph, thanks. He watches all my shit all the time. It's wholesome. Hey, thanks so much. I appreciate that, because I sometimes do feel like my videos are crass for no reason, but I don't know.
Jehovah loves
follow my heart
most.
I'm surprised that these guys can still surprise me. I don't know if the leadership has ever put...
It's just, I don't know. There's some kind of horrible look of knowing in their face when they're in the big, heavy sighs. I don't really feel the need to get into this kind of tough love shit. Although, okay, yeah, no, let's talk about this stupid, terrible sound drop. This is just because it hit a certain point and it was 2 a.m. and I get really, really, my happiness is pretty dependent on whether I feel productive and whether I feel like I am successfully achieving certain things. And so, like, I hadn't released a video by some internal deadline that I had made up, and I was like, if I don't release this now, I won't be able to finish it until after work tomorrow, and then I'll only make it like 2% better. And so I didn't put that much effort into it. That was a lot of apologizing up top for how really unacceptable this is.
Wife and close friends. And here's where we get into a new segment called Tough Love.
It is painful because the discipline exposes something very sensitive inside us.
What is that? It's terrible. I kept it in because it does make me laugh. I don't know why. I was just trying to I was gonna try and do a Wii boxing thing where I like put his head on a Wii boxer, and so I was trying to make him bob around like a Wii boxer, and that's the music from Wii boxing. And then I just hit a point where I'm like, I obviously don't know how to like animate fists and stuff. I don't know how to do that. Like removing the background would be easy, and so then I just had this thing where he's shaking around, and it doesn't make any sense. And so then I was like, it also kind of looks like he's riding a horse, like that's like trotting along. But then why would that have anything to do with tough love? Like, this was a real crisis. I just wanted to give everyone a little peek behind the artistic process, and this is art, obviously, what you're seeing here.
The witnesses I'm shunned. That's God's
oh yeah, okay. So I actually, if you can't tell, I've been thinking a lot about The Sopranos and Tony Soprano and stuff. I actually have a partially scripted video, Famous Last Words, diving more into this subject, comparing, like, in this case, the governing body to Tony Soprano. But I really have been obsessed with this scene that I show. And let's show it again, because it's such a good scene, because every scene in this show is great. It's really, really stuck in my head. This scene where we realize, Antonio seems to realize for himself that he doesn't have any friends. Like it really kind of seems like he's never thought about this, even though his job as a mob boss is to think of all the angles and to think about everything. But this is like a really simple thing that should seem obvious to him, but it just doesn't.
But a shameful legacy of
so I feel the need to talk about it more.
Your little movie connoisseur friends are still meeting?
At least I have friends.
What the fuck's that supposed to mean?
Come on, Tony, you just have a bunch of flunkies.
What do you know about it?
They compliment you on your new shoes. They tell you that you're not going bald. You think they really care? You're the boss. They're scared of you. They have to kiss your ass, laugh at your stupid jokes.
And guess what?
The bald thing is so good too, right? Okay, so I had this take watching this video, but I started to think more about Elon Musk and the novel Anna Karenina for reasons that we don't have to talk about, because this is getting to be a little bit much as it is. But yeah, I'm trying to work on something for my other channel, which I'm just trying. I keep overthinking projects and start making like really, really long, elaborate things that I don't have the motivation to finish. So I got like this little take that you've mostly just seen, but kind of comparing it to Elon Musk, because I've been really, really obsessed with these videos of shots of him in crowds, just totally like spaced out because he's stoned. Like, and he talks about it openly that he does ketamine, and like what he's doing is a pretty consistent symptom of that, which is like disassociation. It's like a kind of anesthesia. Like, I think that's how it started. Ketamine was like as an anesthetic, which is really crazy when you think about it. Like, this is the wealthiest guy in the world. When I think of Elon Musk, or when I thought of him before, I would think of Succession, and the kind of like fast-paced, cocaine, smooth, rich people. Well, they think they're smooth, but they're doofuses. But they're just partying and doing like party drugs, go all the time. But like Elon Musk just wants to like disassociate, and I truly think it's because for him there really is a pretty big difference between being the wealthiest owner of several successful companies and being basically the most powerful person in the world, because you are like at the very least as powerful as the president right now. Like, that's really crazy. There's nobody on your level at that point. All presidents seem so lonely to me. That's a different story. But anyways, I've been kind of trying to work up a take on Elon Musk in these moments, and kind of comparing him to moments in The Sopranos where we see Tony in a similar state where he just is alone. He has no friends, and his thing is that he just disassociates. It's a pop culture channel, so it has to be related to
We are going to sing that song at the conclusion of this meeting.
I just chose this clip because I don't know if it would really track logically if you don't know anything about Jehovah's Witnesses. Because I try to explain little things, and I don't know if that would make any sense at all. But I did think, like, this is a man who just commanded a room full of people that they were going to sing a song for him. And so I hope that comes through. Sometimes watching these witnessy clips, because I've seen this shit a million times, sitting in auditoriums that looked exactly like that same boring gray carpeting, the stuff just washes over you. And so I do, like, if you step outside this for a moment, this is a crazy man who just commanded a room full of people to sing a song for him that his committee of songwriters wrote. And by the way, the version that I had watched and was very stupidly using to edit that awkward silent supercut was much grainier, because I think it was like the raw feed of the live stream of the annual meeting. And so you could not really see clearly all these other guys. Like, I could totally tell that the one guy was Stephen Lett, but I want to show the bigger shot of it here. It's kind of weird. Shit, okay, it's not up there for very long. But you can see them all in a row. Like, you can see all the famous guys that they put on TV. It's like, there's Jeffrey Jackson, Stephen Lett. I think that guy is John Eckeren, and then Kenneth Cook, and then Harold, and then Joel Dellinger, and like, it's all the TV people in a row. It's really weird. I think that's David Schaefer right there. This is the real shit, by the way. This is the kind of stuff I started this channel to do, unironically. It was just talk about things like this. Oh my god, I think, like, this guy. I know who that guy is.
Whenever someone with a lot of power over a captive audience says dumb and annoying things that dehumanize others, well, just remember that you have the capacity for love.
I'm always wary of doxing
they do not.
people I know,
sorry
though.
For the tough love, David Splane. Nobody loves you. Not really. They just have to pretend like they do because you're their boss or their husband.
I try to make the most out of lazy editing. That's kind of the game here. Okay, this was a minor point, and I don't know if I really was able to demonstrate it with their doctrine, because maybe I'm not quite correct on this, but Isaac, I guess I should just play it. Like,
conclusion is wrong.
Everything that happened had to happen because of Jehovah's will. Like, that's what I took away from this Edward Algen talk as a Jehovah's Witness. And so it's what I said in this video, but now, like, when I put it together, I'm like, well, maybe he wasn't actually saying that, and maybe I wasn't and am not quite correct on this. I don't know.
Now Isaac was determined to bless Esau and make Jacob his servant. Isaac was getting in the way. He was getting in the way of Jehovah's purpose.
Like, no, everything Isaac ever did was according to Jehovah's purpose. That's Watchtower's canonical explanation for why anything bad happens in the Bible.
Ooh. Okay, everyone, best pun for a cult award show. Hang on, I should be able to, best pun for a cult awards show. And what award will you get? We'll figure that out. We'll find the answer along the way on our journey.
To happen exactly the way it happened for the outworking of Jehovah's purpose.
Why didn't Jehovah say anything or do anything? Well, the Bible doesn't tell us. But when we give ourselves that important reminder to view this account in the light of Jehovah's purpose, what do we see?
Even our eternal salvation is secondary.
It's a butterfly effect thing, I guess. I mean, if certain people didn't have sex at exactly the right time, the wrong babies would be born. And that would mean this entire prophetic chain leading up to Jesus wouldn't add up. And that's what Watchtower usually says. But today, David Splane, who is one of the keepers of the canon, has changed his mind and is saying something that totally contradicts that, and also is not said in the Bible, which is that Isaac...
Sorry, I dropped my phone, and it like bounced all the way under the desk. Okay. Okay. That's pretty good. For Jehovah's Witnesses, that's very good. I was thinking cult awards, but I mean, that got a big laugh out of me. Okay, I'm going to let the comments accumulate a little bit before I go back, and then I can read a few in a row.
Isaac was getting in the way of Jehovah's purpose on this one obscure occasion by not supporting the multi-million dollar
the sass coming up
God's
here.
board of directors wanted to build. Oh wait, no, that's actually a totally different thing I was thinking about. Tibor, delete that part.
Now the application. Would it be possible for us to get in the way when Jehovah decides?
Like, could I maybe reach more people if I wasn't such a snarky asshole in these videos? Hard to say, you know, because I've never really tried that.
To do something?
No. The answer is no, according to the very first thing David Splane said in this talk.
The gracious
And that means
part.
that when Jehovah says he's going to do something, it's as good as done. And nothing and no one can stand in the way.
So there, don't worry, David, don't worry. Just earlier you told me it's impossible to get in the way of God's purpose.
The organization suggests a new way to carry out the preaching work. We tell our service group,
that'll never work here. Maybe it'll work somewhere else, but not here. We're different.
Okay. First of all, let me also ask, if you're not a pun person, you know, that's okay. Maybe you can tell me, do we like the mouse click addition when I pause the video? Do you like that? My mouse clicking picked up on mic so much that I was like, you know, maybe I can just start using this. But I don't know. I've never really checked in with anyone.
Ramapo? Why do we need Ramapo? Armageddon's coming.
I can't believe he said that.
Explain to me
It's
what
so
happened there. Did he really put that in his own net?
Ramapo is this movie.
It's the deflation thing, because what he's doing is telling you, if you are thinking that, we know about you. It's we know what you're saying. the Jeffrey Jackson thing. We know. They like people to know that they know the criticisms about them to some degree. And it's a power move a little bit, right? To just be like, now some people, we wouldn't want to be like these people. Not a lot of people, but some people I've heard, you know, they're a little bit concerned about this, and we're not really worried. We wouldn't want to be like those people. Like, it's that kind of energy.
Movie studio that the governing body wants
Ramapo
to build
seems
for
like
some
a disaster
reason.
to me.
Apparently not even the membership is totally on board because he's having to do some damage control.
And we wouldn't want to be a naysayer. You know, sometimes what happens when we're in a building project, we have a trouble with permitting. We can't get the permits we need right away. Or maybe a building inspector comes and he causes a lot of trouble. And we wouldn't want to be the type of person who says,
well, this project mustn't have Jehovah's blessing, because if it had Jehovah's blessing, everything would go smoothly.
tell that to Nehemiah and the Jews.
Disaster!
David Splane used a maneuver.
I amused myself. I'm sorry. It's the notes, please, friends. I don't even necessarily understand that, but I just happened to see that comment out of the corner of my eye there. This not Warwick. Well, that's kind of the problem, right? I didn't even say that, but they're just getting off of this Warwick assembly build, and I guess it was probably 10 years ago or so at this point, because didn't they finish it in 2015 or so? Like, I think that's when I would have gone there around that time. Yeah, so it's probably been 10 years, but that's really fresh in the memory of the young dudes who worked their asses off on that project, right? Who really, really worked hard on that project. And like my dad worked on that project, and without getting into his business or anything, like he worked there a lot. He worked really hard for it. And as an LDC person, he is doing like administrative stuff pro bono. I mean, it's all unpaid work, but even as an unpaid laborer, it's outside of his scope of unpaid work. And so all of the guys who are involved with the LDC and the RBC, like, they really take that seriously. They really take pride in it. In their minds, they're building churches. Like, they're building God's house. Like, that, it's really, really important to them. And they're using their talents to the best of their abilities. I mean, I would have been a much more gung-ho Jehovah's Witness if I like worked in the video department or the art department or something, obviously. And so they work really, really hard. This is very fresh in their minds. I know that my dad, he was away for sometimes a few weeks. And a few weeks away from your wife and kids. I mean, I was grown, obviously, but a few weeks away from his wife and just home, that's really, really hard. They didn't like to be apart, but he did that because he felt like it was a sacrifice to God. And now they're trying to sell this project that, frankly, they just haven't justified the existence of it all. In my mind, this is not me speaking for anybody in particular, but my read, if I was a Jehovah's Witness, I would be confused about why they're doing this. Not because of the end thing, because I really do think that the idea that the Kingdom Halls will be used as checkpoints in the new game plus of the world is really exciting. Like, I was into that very much as a Jehovah's Witness, and the idea that you could be working on a Kingdom Hall in the old system and finish it in the new system, like, that's kind of a romantic idea in a religious way. So I think that kind of works for them. But the thing that doesn't work for them is the fact that it's a video studio, and they already produce so many videos. And frankly, to their credit, they seem about as high a quality as you could expect a bunch of Jehovah's Witnesses to make. Like, they go so above and beyond for their Bible dramas. What they need are great actors and screenwriters, and they're not going to do that because they just want the Bible to sound like the Bible. So, like, there's no, this is one of those things that, like, they're not noticing it, but their brain does, kind of thing. That, like, what exactly are they going to be accomplishing with these videos? Because they make so many already. It's kind of hard to imagine that we need more, or that they need to be of some superior quality, because frankly, those Caleb and Sophia cartoons look better than half the dog shit they show on, like, the preschool channels in the morning that I have to see in, like, the waiting room of the surgery waiting area and stuff. You know, that, like, even that, like, shitty Mickey Mouse cartoon that's just like a static 3D model that, like, it's like, and, like, it just, the mouth doesn't really move in sync because the cynical studios don't think that children deserve quality entertainment. And to Watchtower's credit, the shit they make for kids, like, it looks really amazing. So I don't think they've kind of painted themselves in a corner where they haven't justified the need to make this studio. They create the supply and the demand. But because they're a cult, they have to create the demands, because nobody, generally speaking, demands Jehovah's Witness magazines and videos. So they have to convince them that they need all this stuff, and they succeeded in making witnesses think that they need all that stuff, but they haven't sold them on why they need a whole new movie studio. Sorry, I know I'm, like, going around and around on this. It's because I have ADHD.
Or I've kind of coined, we talk about on this channel sometimes, called the sneaky trick from a liar. His question was, is it possible to get in the way?
I just gave up. I couldn't find a funny enough font, and I'm like, you know what? Just fuck it. I'm never going to find a funny enough font, and it's not really that funny of a moment anyway.
Jehovah's purpose. And his answer is, if you complain about decisions the leadership makes, that makes our job harder, and our job is to tell you what Jehovah's purpose is.
Oops. I made a bit of a mistake, because I just took a rather unprofessional sip of water on mic. And generally speaking, what I do.
My church had been giving me ass to drink. But now I was freely receiving, come, the water of life.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe before we get into this, I should... No, hang on. Try and think of any more cult award shows or award categories or whatever. And then I'll pause it when we get into this public relations thing.
And we're telling you that Jehovah's purpose is to build this damn multimedia center. Now, Splane does a couple stupid things next. There's no other way for me to say that, really. Like, these are really dumb, unsmart things.
Highbrow channel, highbrow stuff.
If I was, say, a PR strategist hired to
Did you see how high his brows were?
And I really do hope to be that someday. So let's go into everybody's favorite segment that we always do, the Public Relations Advice Corner.
Have you ever heard the expression trial by media?
Here at Jake's PR Corner.
That's let's call that the beta version of that segment intro. But again, for kind of late night slap happy editing, it's what you get. I've wanted to do the PR segment thing from the very first video, and I just do it a lot. I've noticed that I've been saying it on stream, and I'm like, I need to actually just finally make a little intro. Just finally fulfill my dream of making a PR corner sound drop. Okay. Oh... Bo is chasing ghosts. He's actually chasing the remnants of tape from the poster that he tore off the wall. Yes. Bosif, hey, now you're going after my books, and that's starting to sound like a Republican coming after my books. Sorry about that. So, okay, this started, by the way, thanks to Wavy Cave for giving us a fun idea for a little side game going on here. I think the first one is the Tonys, which was, and Dylan Johnson was just on it. It was on it right away. And I'm seeing a little bit of a delay on my end, I think, because I'm using StreamYard. There's a delay of a few seconds. And even by my standards, it was quick. So you got to give credit for that. And I think that in terms of like elegance, I really like this. The Lemmies, like lemmings off a cliff. I like that because, what's the Oscars? Who? It doesn't really matter. The name sounds right. And Lemmys, maybe that sounds right. That's what we're going to find out. Now, Jenny Bloom, of course, has always went above and beyond, giving us a category, the Coolies. Best Snitcher, like, I imagine, like, Kool-Aid, which I do like. Best Snitcher is good. I feel like we can come up with a better name, but I don't know what the, like, I don't know what the pun is there, in terms of, like, being a snitch. Somebody gave a shout out to Alimony Tony. Is that it? Is that all we had? Guys, the No-Tell Please prize, I like that because it made me laugh. I didn't understand it really. The Wakies? I don't know if I understand that one. The Bite Awards? Was that what we're going for? The Bite Awards? That's not bad. I was thinking of something that they would say, but that's not really important. Did I miss any? Because those are all really good, I gotta say. Not your best work? I don't know. I think that the Coolies is extremely good. The Water of Lifetime achievement. That's good. And it plays to the judge's ego, which is always good. Stiffest pillow category. Hey, it's XJWMJ, friend of the channel. How many corners do you have? This, I mean, I don't know if you've seen Severance, but those scenes where they're navigating the hallways, that's what we're talking about here in terms of corners. Tightest pants category is good. Now this brings up an interesting question, and maybe we can kind of because this almost sounds like content chat. If I can try and sound like a Gen Z influencer. The Young One's Choice Award. I really like that. And like, instead of getting slimed, it's just you get baptized. It's just that you get baptized. Or wait, you get baptized in slime. They do a full immersion slime, and if your feet pop up, they have to dunk you again. We figured it out. We got it. Best shit ever. I really like. That's like the MTV one. It's like a little edgier. But the content idea was coming up with the Dundies, but for the Kingdom Hall. Like, what's the Dundies but for the Kingdom Hall? The Dundies being the just from The Office. It's the boss, Michael Scott's just office awards, but he's a cringy boss, so he takes it too far and ends up offending people. And also, he's just annoying. But it seems like the kind of thing that you would see at a congregation talent show. And this is, I think, might be a fruitful idea for a video. If I can borrow some Jehovah's Witness parlance. Fastest mic handler is excellent. That's going in the bin right away. The Fundies! The Fundies is very good. Okay, longest comment is good. And then that's kind of right. That's definitely Dundies because it's a little mean. Like, it's a little making fun of somebody in the congregation who's the long commenter, which, if they're not a good sport about it, could be awkward, and that's good. And I like this because the Dundies in The Office is interspersed with kind of normal Office awards, like, you know, bushiest beaver, busiest beaver, just like hardest worker or whatever. But also, yeah. Hey, thank you. These are actually somewhat old glasses at this point, but, well, here's the story of some lovely glasses. Off key. So sorry. That's a no for me, dog. The like, I buy a director wherever I got my mail order glasses from. They had like a buy two get one, but one of them had to be really cheap or something, and so I did get the cheapest ones I could find. And I wanted something like this. I imagined them as being a little bit bigger. I thought they were going to be a little bit larger. And so I feel like, I don't know, I'm a law clerk in the 1920s or something. Worst counsel for a part is very good. Worst counsel, like, what was the... Wow, well, the Theocratic Ministry School, there's gold in them thar hills. Elder with the biggest briefcase, excellent. Cringiest commenter. Service driver most likely to take us to paradise. Wait, okay. I need follow-up questions on service driver most likely to take us to paradise. Are you saying, like, they're going to kill you? They're a bad driver, so they're going to kill everyone in the car? Or are you saying that they're such a good driver that they'll be able to successfully, like, dodge the rubble in Armageddon? Like in, like, The Last of Us, or like at the beginning when they're like dodging the carnage. Saddest hospitality. Best hospitality and worst hospitality is definitely good. Yeah, okay. No, that's good. And the way you worded it, I think totally works. No, Jake. Hey, what? No, what? You're a fan of Kinda Funky glasses? Worst hours to Bible study. Oh, I like that. I like that because it's really specifically mean, which is the best kind of mean. Most humble elder. And it would have to be the presenter, who would inevitably be an elder. Okay, sorry. I'm going to let this play out a little bit.
We're big believers in the compliment sandwich. So,
because frankly, this is a good segment.
I do think it's a genuinely good idea for David Splane to be addressing the fact that a lot of witnesses think Ramapo is a waste of time, money, and resources. They've put too much money and resources into this thing to back out now, but they announced it before the pandemic, and then ever since the pandemic hit, this thing has been moving at a...
Right, okay, so we talked about that. Let's talk a little bit about the prophecy part, because I guess it's pretty straightforward, but it's kind of funny the moment where I'm like, here's how you know how bad this next thing is. He's going to do the rebuttal that I just did, but on accident. It's because I made a mistake that I have made before, where I was basically just kind of writing my reactions sequentially as I watched it, instead of, which occasionally means that you're like writing a rebuttal to something that they're actually going to address in like 2 sentences. It's like a stupid way to, it's the reason why you'll see comments from people who are like reacting to something that is later addressed in the video and shit. And I kind of scripted the video like that. But then I was like, well, if I turn it into a joke, it's probably fine.
David Splane could make the cutoff and now be part of the anointed and thus be a part of the governing body. Anyway, in 1925, the book Millions Now Living Will Never Die was released, a book that promised that millions then living would never die. To those brothers with a dim outlook of moving to Brooklyn in the 1940s, they were simply taking the promises...
A dim view. I like, maybe we can expand this to worst microphone etiquette. Here's what I like about this, is I think this is kind of a fun thing that, like, if you were a Jehovah's Witness and you stumbled across this video, you might, like, you wouldn't think, oh, this is some evil apostate. You might be able to laugh at it. I like stuff like that. I don't think I've ever made anything that is that. No, that's not true. Well, what am I doing? No, but I guess the YouTube poop stuff could technically appeal to anybody. If you're a Jehovah's Witness that liked YouTube poops, and I was. So that's what I'm banking on.
Group, seriously. The end is coming any day. And if the end is coming any day, there will be no need to build a crazy new central place in Brooklyn. Because if the end is not coming, that means all we're printing and preaching is lies.
Oh, yes.
So we wouldn't need a printing press in that case.
Love this. Love this. ADHD tangent moment. Not a bad... oh, wait. I literally do have a sound drop for that. I am just loath to play it. I'm going to play it and just tell me how you feel about the fact that this is the sound drop that I had made for when I go on a tangent.
You know, I do the weave. You know what the weave is? I'll talk about like 9 different things and they all come back brilliantly together. And it's like, and friends of mine that are like English professors, they say, it's the most brilliant thing I've ever seen.
It's objectively really funny that he said that, to be honest. But I do prefer to live my life in such a way where I never have to see or hear that guy. So I'm like, do I want to invite that on the channel? I kind of, even playing that My Beautiful Christians thing, I was like, that's from a few videos back. But these things, they haunt me. They weigh on me. Least realistic demonstration script is great. The sisters talks, I did the sisters talks are good fodder for that. Best off key and loud singer, yeah, like opera. opera singer is great. Oh man, like loudest. What's worse? What's worse? Loudest, being loud or off key? Now, there's always somebody that's going to be loud and off key, but there's also people who are just one or the other. And like, it's definitely the worst to be loud and off key. Let's just count them out of it. Worst dressed is good for sure. Worst dressed. Oh, wait, the tangent that I meant to bring up, speaking of ADHD, is what fun ties do you remember? Or, like, did you have a person in your congregation who was the fun tie guy? We had one. I remember his name was, I think his last name was McIntyre. He's dead. He's long dead. It's fine. He was a very strange guy. He knew how to speak Klingon, and he had Klingon dictionaries and stuff. And he had very fanciful ties. He was enormous. Now, I'm still short, and so I was very short back when I lived in Marysville. It was like 6 or 7 or 8 years old. But he was just he towered over my dad. He was just a guy who was kind of like the Looney Tunes bears from the Three Little Bears cartoon. Like, he was just kind of shaped like that. He's that bear that was kind of used in that scenario about if you want to be in the woods with a man or a bear. I don't think that really made sense. But he was so severe and quiet and had a really harsh and scary face, but he always had on like an Elmo tie or like Looney Tunes. And for a while, he had these like elaborate paradise ties that I'm sure he got from Stoops, that which was like a Jehovah's Witness small business, basically. Some Jehovah's Witness started a small business. I didn't mean to rhyme, but I do it all the time. Because I am Jehovah's most secret witness. But yeah, he no way to recover from that. I don't even remember what I was saying. Best scarf award for his sisters, 100%. I was doodling in my sketchbook the other day, and I drew like a Jehovah's Witness couple, and the key was the scarf, because I was trying to figure out like how to make it not just look like a dress, because I'm not a real artist, mind you. I'm like drawing cartoons, and it's the scarf, baby. It's the scarf. Oh yeah, like Debbieist Downer. That doesn't really make sense grammatically, but Hans moment of the congregation. That's like, I understand what you're saying. If we can find a way to articulate that with a Dundee-esque name, then we'll have something. Elder's wife with the zaniest haircut. Absolutely. Do we have any zany haircuts? Hey, Christina. Do you remember if any of the elders' wives had zany haircuts? She says define zany. So she has some follow-up questions. But I know, I'm thinking about this too. Well, I think here's my hiccup with it maybe, is the elder's wife thing. Because zany's haircut immediately conjures a lot of people to mind. Yeah. Yeah, I guess because maybe an elder's wife, depending on the territory, might be able to get away with some things that a pleb witness could not. The most Botox. That's interesting. That has to be a thing in some congregations. Definitely not in Central Ohio. I can tell you that. Not in any part of Ohio. Not really in the tri-state area among the witness population that I saw. Like, there was one, and it was my crush's mom for a while. Well, I mean, she's still the mom, but the crush part is over. she was like always kind of a fringy witness, a seat warmer, a mean elder might say, and she had crazy 80s hair all the time. Like she kind of looked like in the second episode of Arrested Development where Lindsay goes to an audition for a commercial and she has this like absurd huge 80s hair. That's what this woman looked like really blonde, big hair. She got breast implants and it was quite scandalous. She wore quite a lot of makeup and just like would wear leopard print dresses to the meet. Like she really looked like a cartoon character. A lot of people in my life, now that I'm describing them out loud, really sound like cartoon characters, like Brother McIntyre and person who I won't name because they're alive, and I've now used a lot more identifying details than I probably should have. The Tracties. I like the area of that. Most creative substitute for a headscarf. One lady had hair like a fucking parakeet. All right, so we had one sister who she had hair that seemingly she had never cut from the time she was a little girl. It probably, I mean, I'm pretty sure it would drape down past her feet. Like we're getting into Rapunzel territory, but she was old, and so her hair was gray and stringy, and she looked exactly like a witch. Like she looked exactly like the witch from Snow White. Call back to chat earlier, which you don't get on every channel, so like and subscribe. But she had the witch from Snow White, but with Rapunzel's hair, but old. And she had a lot of birds. She was a hoarder, and she had a lot of birds. This is another cartoon person. I understand, is another cartoon person. There are many nuanced three-dimensional people in my life, but not so much the people that I'm talking about. No, they're three-dimensional. It's just, I don't understand all the dimensions. But we always joked that she had birds hidden in her hair. She was oft referenced with regards Mean Girls. Her hair is full of secrets. Yeah, by the way, I would describe the dynamic of Not a Cult as Ben, the Bethelites, elders sent to investigate this demonic activity, is kind of among the sorts of people that I am talking about. Which, frankly, I'm having a gummy moment in that I really did not put that together until right now talking about it. I had never thought about the fact that I clearly am just basing... it really is true to my life. Like, just really, really distinct, colorful characters who feel like cartoons in some way.
Or any of this. And the end did not come. The end kept not coming for so long that the Brooklyn properties have now been sold, and now a new generation of Watchtower leadership is having to sell a new generation of Jehovah's Witnesses to just trust them
Tribbies,
on big new construction
the
project.
great Tribs.
Yes, we're spending millions on a fancy new media center, but that doesn't mean the end won't come even as we're still building it, even though we...
I feel like I didn't quite nail the David Splane thing. I couldn't quite get my voice low enough or something.
Been wrong every other time we've said this over the past 150 years. Witnesses always expect the end to be coming the next year. Every year at the convention or at the yearly memorial for Jesus' death,
that's good.
We would hear this announcement. Some speaker would make the comment, well, this could be our last convention. This could be the last assembly we ever have.
Okay, so maybe somebody said this, or I'm mixing it up, but I know somebody said thriftiest pioneer, but stingiest pioneer is not a bad idea. I don't know if anybody else had anybody who was particularly obsessed with coupons. I mean, everybody we all need some coupons. Nobody's no judgment here. This is an accepting, safe place for the masses. The 64 masses here. And thank you for being here, by the way. Yeah, sorry, no, I don't remember what I was saying. Oh yeah, coupon people. I had someone who was like, they were very, very stingy, and incredibly, they were landlords. They had plenty of money. They were fine. They were doing fine. And they, maybe were not the nicest with the rent for people who were supposed to be super charitable and who were almost completely housing Jehovah's Witnesses. It's almost like Jehovah's Witnesses are willing to pay a little JW tax to go to the other Jehovah's Witness. Like a mechanic that we knew was like, he overcharged a little, but I think you pay a little, this is one of God's servants tax, which, in principle, I don't necessarily dislike. None of that was really important.
Because by this time next year,
anyway,
I think
we get it. Oh, let's at least watch the rest of the sound drops I had. Let's bask in that a little bit, because I think this is pretty good. This is good.
Yeah, he's gonna basically do the rebuttal I just did, but on accident and while still lying. So you're gonna want to see this next one, folks, because this is Jake's PR Corner own goal moment of the week.
Then in 1953, at the business meeting of the Watchtower Society, Brother Noah read a letter from a sister. Now, just for context, this is 1953. And in those days, as I well recall, some thought that Armageddon was going to come.
Oh, he's the worst. Okay, so if it's not clear, I got the premium version of DaVinci Resolve for my birthday, actually. That was Christina's gift to me, and definitely my patron's gift to me as well, by the way. And it's really, really been useful. Like, the tools that it has genuinely like streamlined editing, because you can search subtitles. It can auto-generate subtitles, and they're really, really good. I mean, JW audio in particular is very crisp and clear, but even mine, I'm more mumbly, and it's pretty good. And you can search them. You can make clips based on just like, it's perfect for the sentence mixing stuff and just plain old, oh my god, I don't remember the exact moment in this 3-hour long annual meeting, this talk, like I don't know this moment, and it's not on JWS because that thing only goes up to 2022. So like, that's amazing. But it also just has a bunch of goofy bells and whistles that I have no idea how to use. Like, they don't really apply. So I just wanted to throw a bunch of goofy shit that is like, I don't know, comes with the pro version of DaVinci Resolve in the video.
40 years from 1914. So this sister writes to Brother Noah and says, why are you spending all this money on building projects when Armageddon could come in 1954?
Right? Why would he say this? This is so dumb. David, all this proves is that your religion keeps being wrong about when the end is going to come, and that anything you're saying right now is just as likely to be as wrong as what the previous guys said. The worst part is that David is still pulling a sneaky trick. He said some thought Armageddon was going to come.
I think, like, I don't know. I try not to be... Sorry, I got a little choked up because this video is so good. I got a little choked up at how hard I was crushing it. No, sorry. And now I distracted myself with his own, with my own bit. With his own bit. What the fuck's happening to my life? Hey, thanks to QC Man 2000, by the way. This could be the last convention. That was me. Luna Love Good Face. That sister would have been disfellowshipped or at least reproved for daring to write a letter like that to a governing body member today, in all likelihood. Well, I don't know. That's interesting. That's an interesting question. Like, could you write something that the branch would then kind of like call your congregation, like, hey, be on the watch and prove yourself ready for Sister so and so. She was sounding a little apostate-y. Like, is that what's happening? Sorry, I just got like a bunch of alerts on my phone for some reason. It's like alerts from throughout the day suddenly decided to pop up right now. But this strikes me as a particularly egregious thing to say. I try not to be super hyperbolic, like unless it's clear that I'm joking. Like, I do try and tamp down on crazy speculation and stuff, and try not to overhype something as being significant if it isn't. I don't know if I do that successfully, but like this really strikes me as particularly bad. But I don't know if that's just my bias as I'm now out, and so I'm looking at it from the perspective of I know it's not true. But to me, it seemed like when I was in, what they tried to do was commend the perseverance of people in the past and their zeal, but really try not to focus on the fact that there were people in the past who said that the organization was wrong about stuff. I don't know. Like, does that even make sense what I'm saying? Like, I don't remember them talking about stuff like this. Not that it's new information, but just kind of phrasing it like this and being this out in the open with the fact that they have a history of people questioning their decisions. I don't know. It strikes me as particularly bad, but tell me if I'm wrong or if this is just par for the course. Because it could be. It could just be par for the course.
40 years after blah de blah.
And in those days, as I well recall, some thought that Armageddon was going to come 40.
I like that little moment, by the way. Not to toot my own horn very explicitly, but no, I mean, it's just pointing out, it really seems like he knows what he's doing. The Office keeps coming up in this episode. We are talking about the Dundies for some reason, but watching these guys, I thought about it in that Peter Thiel, Joe Rogan thing too. Like, one of my favorite jokes in The Office is that Dwight really fancies himself like a detective because he's a volunteer sheriff. And so early in the episode, he's hyping up the fact that he's basically a human lie detector because he learned all of the common things that liars do. And so he lists all of them. And then later in the episode, he talks to Michael Scott, and like Michael is borderline cartoonish in the degree in which he's doing every single thing that Dwight said earlier. But because Dwight is, just needs to believe that Michael is the most amazing man in the universe, like, he just doesn't see it at all. And I think it's not, like, people usually aren't that obvious about lying, like the people in L.A. Noire, but I don't know. Sometimes these guys are, it really lines up with the cartoonish things that like Dwight described.
Some thought that Armageddon was going to come 40 years from 1914.
Now, what he meant to say is all thought that because it was the official Watchtower teaching. If witnesses know one thing, it's that you have to have unity of mind. So everyone thought this now false teaching within Jehovah's Witnesses. It's what you had to think.
By the way, I kind of scripted that before I had seen this exact quote. I had a different quote, I think. But I didn't realize that they actually really had it explicitly, this 40 years thing that he said. Like, and to have the year right there. And I don't think I mentioned this in the video, but he kind of goes out of his way to mention, like, back in 1954, as I well remember, Like, I remember it, so don't question my memory. I was there. Don't read the magazines that are just on the website.
It's what you had to teach other people to think when you were preaching. It's what you had to raise your hand and say in your comments at the midweek meeting.
Yeah,
this is
same.
How Watchtower likes to rewrite history.
Same. I didn't know this. Like, I didn't... In terms of the big stuff that come to mind thinking of false predictions of Jehovah's Witnesses, this is a thing that I reference it on screen, that like JW Facts has an article about it. So I obviously read about it at some point, but did not stick in my memory at all. And so this is also the thing of the office of Michael calling a press conference because they printed a dirty cartoon on as their watermark on a shipment of paper. And like, it's obviously like not that big of a deal, but he calls a press conference to call attention to it, to get ahead of the scandal. And that's what I find really bizarre about this. Trump does it all the time too, where he will constantly tweet about an insane thing that like the liberal media does not know about, and like normies don't know about it, but he knows about some weird inside baseball right-wing thing, like, that's talked about in like the podcast sphere and shit and Newsmax. And so then it draws a bunch of attention to it, and it hasn't stopped him, hasn't stopped Jehovah's Witnesses, but I do think it's a dubious tactic.
History. Their false predictions weren't false predictions. It's just some weird things some people thought. So
that's
this
a good
next
question.
thing he's going to say is actually even more stupid.
Speaking about our building programs, Brother Noor once made a very profound statement. It's simple, but it's profound. He said, we're going to keep
right.
Building. Let Jehovah stop it if he doesn't agree with it.
Oh, yeah.
I think he could do that, couldn't he?
At this stage, own goal! Oh, just look at the despair in his teammates' faces. I don't think they've got a lot of trust left in him anymore.
This is just a completely...
Oh, I was so excited that the commentator said I don't think they have a lot of trust left in him anymore. What a gift from the gods, quite frankly. And thanks to everybody who's been hanging out. We've had like a really consistent amount of people here. And I'm having fun sniffing my own farts here, watching my own videos. I think born in 1944. Yeah, I do think he was born in. Like, Morris and Sam Hurd were not born in, but I'm pretty sure that... Ooh, was Loesch born in? These are good questions.
Completely nuts
Let
thing
was,
for
or at least he
any
converted
religious
really
leader
young.
to say. I didn't even mean to plug my upcoming book, Not a Cult, but this is something I actually have a villain say,
Sorry, I
like
did
almost
this.
word for word. It was, I thought, like a slightly heightened version of JW beliefs, but no, all that work and he just tweeted it out. If God doesn't like it, he can stop me. It can be used to justify any...
I mostly just really like that tweet and think about it a lot. All that work and he just tweeted it out. Just because it seems like it didn't used to be that people would publicly say such crazy things on purpose, and like we've just destroyed the concept of like repercussions for shameful thoughts in public. And so and we're just numb to it because how could we not be? And so it's just like, I don't know, what do you do?
Atrocity and has been used.
Just make
to
fun of them
justify
and make their heads
atrocities,
look big and
especially
silly.
religiously motivated ones. Speaking of things I said mostly as a joke but are now real because we live in
Is there a
hell, here's
physical
something I said in
location?
my review of their Jesus movie that came out a few months ago.
I thought of that quote.
Honestly, based on some of the behind-the-scenes stuff they've released, it kind of seems like God didn't want this movie to come out.
As we've been working with
Yeah, by the way,
Jesus Project.
Maybe I'm missing an obvious one, but I couldn't quite find a perfect match for that, like as a quote to throw on screen or a video clip to cut to. But I think I didn't think that it was an extraordinary claim to like say that that's why people fight holy wars. They're like, well, if God wanted to stop us, they would he would. I wrote as part of Not a Cult, nobody cares, but I mean, this is the self-indulgence live stream after all. I write this, a big part of the book is just like, the question that kind of starts driving you crazy when you start questioning the religion, but you really don't want to. And I think that question is, what if you're wrong? Right? Like, I think if you question that thing too much, you can really go insane, right? You could totally lose your mind. Like, Maul in Inception has a similar thing that drives you crazy, like your reality isn't real or something. It's something like that. But I think the thing that causes you to question and doubt is like, well, what if you're wrong? And I do think everybody thinks that, at least in little blips, right? But when, in Not a Cult, like, I tell, there are a few scenes that kind of are from the Charles Taze Russell perspective. Spoiler alert, I guess. Not necessarily in a way you would think, but I just started to think about how crazy you would have to be to be a cult leader. And just, I feel like that question of like, what if you're wrong? Like, it should just drive you insane, right? And when I started to go through all the like justifications of what might make a cult leader think, well, God is leading me, like, well, this thing is succeeding, like my movement is succeeding. Well, Christina said your bowel movement is succeeding, which, whoa, hey, you want to show off your cool design?
Sure.
Christina has been doing like really cool like ink art. She's incredibly talented. She did this all by hand. Can I show them another one?
Yeah, go to the front.
The front.
Different.
Oh, yeah, this one. I really, really like this one. It's very satisfying to stare at for a long time. Wait, what am I doing? I'm on tiny screen mode. This is a big screen moment. Look at that.
All by hand.
And then keep looking at it. She did that all by hand. She didn't trace that shit. This is a professional. It's so cool. Christina just kind of like, you've just slowly over the like years got really into calligraphy, and then, got really into those books where you're kind of like coloring other people's designs, and then you started following Instagrammers, and then started doing your own designs, and like they're all really, really fucking cool. They blow my mind.
You should
look at that shit.
show the flower one that you said reminded you of like
this one?
No, the next page over.
That one.
You said that one reminded you of like old-fashioned paper or
Wallpaper? Yeah, totally. This reminds me of like the Mother's Room wallpaper that we had at the 161 Kingdom Hall.
You better believe it.
Yeah. I love it. It's so satisfying to look at when you're stoned, which nobody is.
Never.
On the record.
That's the one that I just finished.
Last one. This shit is some cool Rick and Morty Osmosis Jones-ass screensaver shit.
Screensaver shit. That's cool.
That's some screensaver shit. Oh my god. It's so cool. I have like...
Thank you.
By the way,
Thank you.
They're used to me stopping everything and showing them my doodles, so this is a regular segment. And
Okay,
it's a breath of fresh air, frankly.
Thanks, guys.
Jenny says, Christina, become an art teacher.
I could do art therapy.
She's been talking about doing art therapy.
Yep. I just need to get through my bachelor's program.
Yep.
So I can practice independently and do shit like that.
So you can be an eligible bachelor. I'm worried about that, I gotta tell you.
I didn't tell you I was a man.
An eligible bachelor.
Because there's only two genders.
That's right.
Or
That's
two sexes.
That's trite. That's trite. Frankly, yeah, that was. I want to be clear that that was ironic.
Yes.
You couldn't see the snark on her face.
I don't believe in
That by the way, was very visible in the Kingdom Hall from the stage. Christina is a big reactor to things. She's like, I mean, you're like that reactor in the Death Star that they have to blow up.
Oh, I thought you were going to say like in a nuclear power plant.
That would have made more sense.
But the Death Star is pretty much that.
Yeah. And by the way, with Starkiller Base, for a weapon of that size, there would have to be some kind of thermal oscillator.
Is that what she said?
Yeah. That's what Miles from Lost said.
Thermal oscillator, that's right.
I really like that scene, because he just knows like there would have to be some kind of thermal oscillator. And he knows the shape of it in his mind.
Of course.
I think about the way he says that. And it's good to meditate on those things. Okay, so I found this really fun, actually. I started to think I need to find a way to edit this into a montage type thing, except not do zoomy editing shit. Do it more straightforward, like the governing body one, where it's, you know, kind of like a supercut, but it tells a little story. I think it would be interesting to do something like that with the RBC, LDC building project propaganda videos. Like, I did find the exercise of like just snipping off the before sections of their before and after videos to show a kind of sad, normal state of affairs. Like,
Things were delayed. There even came a point where it just completely stopped.
Right, so I was kidding, but now this is Davidson's actual
Christina
line of
says
hindrances
that one
to
guy
their
looked like
building
Marco
projects
Rubio.
happen constantly, and yet they never interpret these hindrances as signs of
shit.
God's disapproval.
Sorry, guys, I forgot to put it back on the screen. Sorry for blessing you with my face for a little longer.
Even when it
Apologies.
comes to what insurance companies call acts of God.
Let Jehovah stop it if he doesn't agree with it.
Like, how would they know if God was trying to stop them? Because when things do try to stop the project, they just keep going.
Right from
But yeah, I mean, like, that is why I have the kind of like evil, an evil character in the book. That's kind of the ultimate justification for all religious atrocities, is the fact that I'm here means something. It must mean that God's with me. And if God wanted to stop me, he would. So, you know, you keep enabling that behavior. And I remember in a really minor way kind of thinking like that in terms of just little things like watching a rated R movie once in a while, or, you know, pillow gating, not to be TMI. Real ones know what I'm talking about. Like, you can justify a lot of things like that as a religious person. And so it really was fucking bananas to me to hear him say this straight out. And it's a quote from Brother Noor, apparently. So I really like that this is apparently inherited wisdom that rings true to David Splane, and that he's proud to share. And yes, they also do say it right from the start. Just all the problems. Right from the start, there was zero sign of God's favor. And I need to look up more clips, because was there not like a recent thing where they said, like, continue to pray for God's blessing upon this project? And then, like, I know you've got Tony Morris saying, like, when Jehovah wants something to happen, it's going to happen. Like, anyway, that's like more of a mental note to myself. I want to make that edit.
Fires, we've had floods, we've had a pandemic.
We're a small department, and it's a small branch.
True.
We had this project highlighted that was 3 times our normal workload.
Things were delayed. There even came a point where it just completely stopped.
We've had some disappointing things up to this point.
It's good in a marriage, honestly.
I feel like we've been stronger for it. We've tried to get a little closer. And the expectation, like the scripture in Proverbs 13, it talks about expectation.
Oh my God. I really like. So the best show about cults is The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. And the best thing about it is the cult leader, John Hamm. Like, the big twist is that he is actually complete, sad, lonely jackass. Like, it's actually very much the Tony Soprano, Elon Musk thing we were talking about earlier, where you actually kind of become a lonely, friendless person when you have that much power over people's lives. And so that's what John Hamm's character is. But, you know, it's a comedy. So he's just like sitting around eating Doritos and like has the girls, you know, generating power by hand so that he can just like watch TV and audition to be on like a reality TV show and stuff. Like, just a complete jackass. And so I do really like the idea that the big twists to the Jehovah's Witness story is that the governing body are just like growing out in a man cave, counting their piles of cat. Like, they're literally like the Tony and his guys in the Bing, just playing billiards.
Patient of your heart can almost make you sick. We have felt some pressure. I think it's like anything else. It can get frustrating, but I also think it's the best we can do, right? We're beating the arrows as hard as we can on the ground, and it's in Jehovah's hands.
Okay, if I that guy really started to make me sad. But okay, that was the thing I mentioned earlier, that I did take these out of context, and if I make that edit, I would do this differently, I think, because this clip here is actually chronologically before this clip here, and this is from the after section where he ends this very, very boring and yet hilariously over dramatized video that is just essentially them having to meet with the city council of Warwick. You know, they imbue it with drama, and it's completely ridiculous, but they're talking about how much trouble they've had with not Warwick, but Ramapo. I probably said Warwick every time I meant to say Ramapo this entire stream. They're the same. Christina says they're the same, and we are the same because we're one flesh, so we're right. Yeah, and there's 2 of us and only 45 or so of you, but it's our house. Yes, exactly. So this is kind of the weird thing, right? Is that these videos are really only for Jehovah's Witnesses, and one thing that I have really not put any kind of deep research in, but I've been chewing on a little bit. There was a post on the Reddit that I'm sure I left a bitchy reply to. I snap easily on the internet when I see something that annoys me. Like, I'll just be like, you fucking idiot. Because the internet's bad and we should probably destroy it. No, wait, no, I need it for this. No, it's a toxic relationship. But anyway, like, there was a post that was trying to imply that there was a conspiracy about the shareholders of the governing body. I get triggered by the conspiracy thing. I think I have a stream clip talking about it on the Small Worldly channel. That's really good. I think it's the one with Christina, actually, if you want to watch that. But I get a little triggered by the conspiracy stuff for reasons I articulate elsewhere. And there are a lot of conspiracies that, like, there's a bigger governing body out there, and that the governing body are just patsies. And it's, you know, they do have shareholders, but it's not a secret. But it did make me think. So I looked it up. It's funny, I didn't realize it was literally on Wikipedia. I think when I looked it up, when I was like Pimo and researching, I did have to go on some whatever website where you could look up that information. But it is public information. And it's on Wikipedia too. And what is crazy about it is it's all the guys that are in the videos. And some guys who aren't, but it's mostly you know, like the David Schaefer types. All the guys who they keep really close to the chest. And so it's kind of interesting to think about that to give the conspiracy person credit, and I feel a little silly that I didn't even think to play
Welcome,
it.
Internet. I'm so happy to share with you this conspiracy theory.
Sorry for missing that. Or maybe I was just, like, edging you. Maybe I was just, like, edging you. I'm thinking about that. To give them credit, there is something to the fact that they are a business that has to meet certain standards. It will be interesting to see how the, like, Dojification of everything, if it would have an impact on them. I'm not really sure. But they do have to do certain things, and they have to keep the people that are in the know. Like, they have to keep them close. You can't retire from the mafia, that sort of thing. And so really these kinds of videos are just as much for those guys as they are for anyone. You know, it kind of makes me think of the fact that, like, Donald Trump loves watching these, like, AI generated videos of himself and, like, just imagining his administration accomplishing things and dreaming up turning Gaza into a fucking resort or some disgusting bullshit. Like, but, you know, it does something for his ego. And what's kind of wild about this cult is that a large part of what the members' labor go towards is just making content that makes the leadership feel good about themselves. Imagine that your job was to, like, make a... Sorry, I sneezed. I think it might have come through on mic anyway. But I'm just like, you know, the kind of work that their video team does, they could get a union job in the industry and actually work, like, be building a resume. You can be a grip and do that kind of video editing and all those skills. They could be using their time and labor elsewhere. So they've got a lot of everything is built on everybody believing in the project. There's a deeper message there about capitalism or something, but
like the scripture in Proverbs 13, it talks about expectation of your heart can almost make you sick. We have felt some pressure. I think it's like anything else, it can get frustrating, but I also think it's the best we can do, right? We're beating the arrows as hard as we can on the ground, and it's in Jehovah's hands.
Okay, if I believed in Thor and tried to build a church for him, but the church I was building kept getting struck by lightning, I would probably interpret that as Thor.
Oh yeah, this was funny that I just was like, you know, I should search Church of Thor. Of course, immediately, Marvel fandom wiki picture. It's a thing. But, you know, I wasn't going to let me alter my script or address it in any way.
But maybe if I was a leader of 8 million Thor...
Okay, last thing, because my allergies are really getting fucked up. I think it's because I've had this window open. But, well, I'm also sitting right next to, like, the cat tree.
Can almost make you sick.
But second of all, I would just ask yourself what your line...
This little moment here with the line in the sand, I just kind of thought last minute about that cartoon, the Yosemite Sam cartoon, where they, you know, the line in the sand thing. And I threw it in. I'm like, you know, that actually is a better visual metaphor than I would have thought. I just thought it would be a joke because it reminded me of a cartoon, but it's actually not bad. Just like that little clip, but like this is what it's like to be in really any extremist movement or an abusive relationship or a cult or anything. It's just like you keep moving your line in the sand and then you fall off a cliff.
Lines in the sand are. Nobody can know that but you. But what would it take you to concede that one of the group's teachings is wrong? What would it take you to believe that maybe God doesn't want this thing to be happening? What exact sort of proof would it take? And if the answer is no amount of proof could change my mind about any of this, that should probably tell you something right there. And this is why we do the PR corner, folks. You see, if David's...
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess Jeff Foxworthy was really the last piece of the puzzle there to talk about. I thought that was a funny little visual gag, and I like how janky it is. Well, I definitely didn't mean to stream for quite this long. I guess I was going to do other stuff, but honestly, like, my allergies are bothering me. Here's what I have on the agenda for the future. Oh, by the way, so tomorrow at around the same start time, we did like 6:15 or so. We're going to do the call-in show thing, whatever that is. We're going to do it, and Heliocentric's going to be on. And it's just because it's fun. It's been kind of cool to just hear people's experiences leaving the group. That's kind of all it's been so far. We haven't done any like specific prompts yet, but it's also a place if anybody has disagreements or anything they can call in. But interestingly enough, it's almost like the good vibes are kind of infectious, and nobody's ruined the mood so far. So it'll be interesting to see, if that sounds like a bunch of hippy dippy feel goodery. You're not interested in that kind of pablum. Well, there's some tension. Maybe some asshole will call in, and maybe it would be you. You could troll and ruin our night. I know there are people who would enjoy that kind of thing. Night ruiners, we call them. But I don't have time to talk about the night ruiners. Now, I am sorry for talking more about politics than I probably should have for my mental health.
It's difficult not to take sides in politics. It's very difficult because we are aware of the issues.
We're aware of the issues, folks, on this channel. One of the issues we have is that we're not the #1 channel on YouTube. That's always been the goal from minute one. From the second I hit record on that microphone that really looked like a Kingdom Hall microphone, but my friend who gave it to me assured me it wasn't, and that he had not stolen it from the Kingdom Hall. But I always thought maybe it was. From the moment I did that, I wanted to be the biggest YouTube star in the entire world. So far, I've taken a weird route of making videos about topics that really appeal only to a very specific group on purpose, and really not making any attempts to expand beyond that. But, short of making that happen magically, like and subscribe and so forth. And if you do like the channel, also just tell your friends about it. If a video strikes you as funny that, might appeal to somebody who might not normally be into XJW stuff, that's a thing I hope I get. Oh my god. I haven't yet finished the Big Joel video, going through all the games, but it's delightful. It's the absolute best. I'm so fascinated by the fact that Mr. Beast is the biggest guy on YouTube and is just a dullard with no personality or facial expressions or ability to connect with anybody as a human being. Like, it truly, I don't understand any part of how he got famous, and I didn't know anything about him until all the bad things started to come out, and then I couldn't stop learning about him because I truly don't understand how people watch this. Okay, I'm dying. Guys, I'm dying. It's the ghosts of Big Joel. And when I get sick, it makes me want to call my...
Mommy, when I get out, call me Sammy.